All right. And so for SLDM number two, I will probably need one other person driving just for the amount of people. Everyone that is over 3K plus in sales is invited. There might be a few of you that will get special invites if you're not there already. We'll be leaving at the office at 11 a.m. next Tuesday. And also, we'll plan to have some sort of food and fun afterwards with the division and everything. And you guys will be able to meet all the other reps from the other teams in our division, as well as the leaders within our division. Now, we also do have an awesome big Battle of LA division meeting that's going to be taking place June 22nd. That is on a Sunday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And so this is a big event that's going to be coming up. This is our division theme for this week because we are going into battle. And as you guys can see, I've got all the paint and everything on my face because we're going into battle, baby. So we got to get our hands dirty. So first things first, I'm just going to go through, show you guys a quick video of an Alex Funk teaching talk about phoning mindset. Okay, so it's just developing a phoning mindset. So it's going to be going through here, and then I'll go through the newsletter afterwards, and then we have a little guest speaker that I'll be talking with you guys coming up here pretty soon. So I'll play this video here for you guys, and we'll go through, take good notes, we'll watch this video.
Um, has anyone here ever felt a little bit nervous when it comes to making phone calls? Anybody looking for interaction on this for sure? Pat, you've never felt nervous about phone calls? Oh, okay. That's everybody, right? Everyone. Who feels like they are willing to unmute and say, what is the biggest fear you have when it comes to phone calls? Like, what are you nervous about? Zoe, what are you nervous about when it comes to phone calls?
I'm nervous about talking to people and them judging me for what I'm doing, not necessarily getting denied, but being judged. I think there's a big difference between that. Um, and so that's like something you have to overcome. And I guess my little way of how I did that was doing an all day phone jam. We were in the office, so I think if you guys are able to do or join in on all the phoning times tomorrow, that's very beneficial because by the end of it, you're kind of numb to phoning. So when you have to make phone calls like in a couple of days, it's just like, well, I just did it for 12 hours the other day. Let me sit down and do some for maybe an hour.
So Zoe, yeah, I know for real. That's how it is. Zoe, you said not the fear of rejection, but the fear of being judged. Anyone else feel that? Anyone else feel that? Yeah. What, and being judged of what? Anybody else want to unmute? Like being judged of what? Pat.
One that I always kind of struggled with was some of my, like the people that I knew were wealthy. Like either I got told they were wealthy or I know they're wealthy. Like I don't want them to think that I'm just calling them and trying to sell them something because they know that I know that they're wealthy. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, anyone else feel that? Like you almost feel bad because they know why you're calling them type of thing. Anyone feel like that? Okay. Any other things that you feel like you might be judged for when you're calling? Logan, did you just mouth something? You did? Who else? There's got to be other, or is that the only thing?
So one thing that I've been judged for a few times by family is they feel like I'm just being lazy about getting a job. They don't see this side of it. They don't see the calls on the other side. They don't know why I'm doing this. And so like I felt a lot of judgment, especially from my aunts and uncles who are a little more established. They told me like go sell groceries, go bag groceries or something like that. And I'm like, you don't even know why I'm doing this. But yeah, so some of the judgments I think is like the actual job itself. Kind of like what Zoe said, they were like, especially with like posting on social media, a lot of my friends that would swipe up, they're like, why are you doing this? Or like, they throw around the term pyramid scheme. That one I find is funny. So I talk them through what's actually going on. And everyone seems to be a little bit more understanding, but that initial judgment is always hard to front right away.
100%. Anyone else feel that? Anyone else feel any of that? 100%. So why I wanted to put this out in the open, we've all heard it, we've all felt it. And what's really, 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 really important to recognize, everybody, is when we are making these phone calls, booking these demos, the first thing to recognize is it is different than what Blake said a normal job is. Okay. This is not bagging groceries. I will never pretend like this job is bagging groceries. It is not. Thankfully, there are way more motor skills involved with this and opportunities to connect and grow. And there's not a lot of growth in a bagging grocery job. Would everyone agree with that? It's kind of a very, going through the motions type of thing. There is nothing wrong with that, okay? But what I want everyone to recognize is the reason that there's any judgment cast, which isn't it wild that there's judgment cast on us doing something different and not on somebody who just goes and gets a job at Target because everyone else does. And it kind of like, shouldn't this be put on a higher pedestal? But the reason that there is judgment or it feels different is because it is human evolution to want to be accepted by the pack. If you think about this, it makes sense, right? Anybody who was different over millions and millions and millions of years of evolution, anybody who chose to be different probably didn't find a mate, and those genes did not reproduce over and over and over. So who evolved over time? The people who stuck with the pack, did what everyone else did, and were very normal. We don't have to just survive anymore. That's what's awesome. Being different is very okay, but it's still judged the same way. Does everyone recognize this? So we're not primal, like nobody is going to be cast off by the pack for being different, but there's still that feeling of being judged and shouldn't you be doing this because this is normal? And that's very okay. So I think the first thing to recognize is, hey, this is very different, but just because someone else doesn't understand doesn't mean that it's not the right thing. I think we all agree, like seeing Jared be so great at it and JFK and all the success stories and entrepreneurs that have come from Cutco is pretty awesome. The other thing is the judgment of, like, I think it was Patrick who said people calling with the feeling of, oh, you're just calling me because I have money and you want me to buy stuff from you. Somebody unmute. What are we really asking for? When we call somebody, what are we asking for?
Their time.
Yes. Who said that? Jared or Gigi? You both unmuted. Jared, their time. So when we're calling, would anyone disagree? What we're asking for is their time. And I'd argue time is the most valuable human resource, not their money. Their time really is the most valuable resource. So what we're asking for is far more valuable than their money anyway. It's their time. Would anybody here disagree that HM30s burn a lot of time? Anyone disagree with that? I was home for Christmas and my my 3 aunts had a discussion in front of me that I almost was sitting there like, wow, if I could just record this and play it for any Cutco rep ever and be like, this is what HM30s are doing. They were talking about 3 different shows on Hulu that all 3 of them have watched in the last 2 months. They've watched like the whole series. That's season on season on season. So if they're not watching your demo, what are they watching? Who knows, right? So would you all agree, like HM30s, they have time. So if we're asking for their time that they have an abundance of, is it really a bad thing that we're doing? I would say no, right? And the other thing is, if you feel bad about asking for their time, you must be doing a pretty boring demo. Spice it up, have some fun. I remember when I was making phone calls, booking demos, I actually felt really excited about it because for me, it was like, I'd crack some jokes on the phone. Small town people, right? Beer is currency in my small town. Like, so I'd be like, hey, you bring the drinks, I'll bring, Logan, you can probably relate, Montana. I'd be like, hey, you bring the drinks, I'll bring the jokes. Let's have a good time. We'll see you at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And people would eat it up. So tell some jokes, have some fun, right? If your presentation isn't the highlight of your week, add some more jokes in, right? Your presentation should be something that they think about all week, way more than their Netflix show. Okay? Would anyone disagree with this at all? So what we're asking for is their time, which they have an abundance of, and they have an abundance of this week more than any other week of the year. I sent an email to a Cutco corporate guy 2 days ago, or no, it was December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And I asked for a favor. The response I got was, and it was about the Silver Cup. I felt like, Gerardo in first place, felt like there's some fishy stuff going on. Yeah, he's randomly had whatever. The auto response I got was, out of office until January 2nd. Happy holidays. I was like, January 2nd? This guy's off for 2 weeks? Are you kidding me? And then I thought about, you know what? My mom also off until after the new year. How many people know someone who's just off of work this week because it's the holidays? And what are they doing? It's cold outside. Like, they're not that busy. They're not that busy, Blake, right? So once you look at these demos as, hey, I'm really not asking for a lot. People aren't that busy. The presentation's fun. And if you need one more reason to call people, there are customers out there struggling with their kitchen cutlery situation, and they have no idea they have a better option. How do you know that they don't know there's a better option? Was anybody's mind blown to shreds in training? Like, oh, wow, there's 10 different knives that you can use. Oh my gosh, them wood handles are disgusting. Wow, that steel gets that rusty. There are customers out there who've never went through Cutco training. They know none of the stuff you know. So the worst case scenario with your presentation is they learn a ton. Even if they don't buy Cutco, you're the highlight of their week because you're funny, you have a big smile, you make their day, and they learn a ton about kitchen cutlery and their knife situation. That's a win-win-win, I would imagine, right? And if they don't see the value when you call them, guess what they say? They say no, and you move on to the next person anyway, right? So if you make it about that instead of making it about people buying Cutco from you, phoning doesn't have to make you nervous. Phoning doesn't have to be a dreadful thing, right? If you can just understand the favor that you're actually doing for people. Does this make sense? Okay.
All right, perfect. So, what are you guys' main takeaways from that video? What's like a big takeaway that you guys want to share? Anybody from Zoom want to share?
Yeah, I could share adding jokes. I'm not really great at that, so I'd say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've given you some great jokes in training. You know that, the 3 a.m. knife, right, and all those other ones, right? It's definitely good to throw in jokes and stuff like that for sure. So that's good. All right. And then also like make sure you highlight that in your calendar, right? Because I'm going to be the highlight of your day, right? That's a good one too. That gets people to laugh. All right. What else?
Yeah, I definitely agree with him that like what he was saying. Like if you're afraid or not really willing or wanting to ask for to do the demo, you know what I mean? It's because like your demo is probably not fun enough, you know what I mean? So I definitely agree with that statement. Adding jokes is awesome. Knowing the product is even better. But yeah, that's all I got out of that pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Awesome. All right. Anybody else on the Zoom want to share?
HM30s feel like they're always busier than they really are, but they have plenty of time for Hulu and Netflix. So why
Yeah.
not make it a Cutco demo?
Absolutely, 100%. So, HM30s, they definitely do have more time on their hands than sometimes we expect, right? Sometimes they're just, over the weekend, they're just sitting at home, relaxing, after the long work week. So ultimately, we should have that mindset of like, hey, go out there and, send out those reach outs, right? Just get that reach out there so then you can, just ask for that time, right? Because that's all you're asking for when you're making calls, right? So just keep it simple. So I hope you guys are able to take some good stuff away from that. So real quickly, I'm sharing right now here on the screen with you guys the Cutco Chronicles, which is released every single week around noon time on Tuesdays. And so this goes over basically the top sales representatives in different categories, as well as top office sales, and goes through some rep promotions, as well as some grand days and other cool contests that are going on, all that kind of stuff. So on the front page of the newsletter, we have the Summer Conference 1, which is going to be a big push period. This is going to be the first push period of the summer. And so our event is going to be taking place in Cerritos, California. That is going to be taking place on July 9th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So definitely, guys, make sure that you guys plot this out within your calendars because this is a very, very big event. It's going to be something you want to plot out for all day because afterwards, at the very end, we go to a beach and take over a beach and just get like barbecue and stuff like that going. And it's a really, really good time to be able to connect with so many awesome people. And so as a team, we're going to be going for that top 2 FFY office trophy. We want to try to take over a lot of the top 12 sales representatives as well for that. So there's some really awesome, cool push trophies that you could be able to earn through this push contest. And all of you guys, for simply attending, you guys get a petite Santoku, which is pretty hype. You guys get that as just a gift for attending basically the conference. Now, when it comes to the conference, there is a charge that you do get charged within your commission statement. It's $79, a one-time fee. Basically, you can go to the conference for free by simply just selling one of these pieces that you guys see on the screen here. If you guys want to take a screenshot, it'd be very good to do. But if one of those customers that you guys see, they're only going to get one piece, right? And they're going to reserve a buy now bonus, right? This is a great way to be able to have that be written off as a conference order. And so then it makes it so then that entire conference fee of $79 is rebated back to you and you go to the conference for free. And so this is the best way to be able to attend our summer conferences is simply by just selling one of those pieces that you see on that sponsorship sheet. And you also can showcase this sponsorship sheet to your customers to let them know and say, hey, I'm going to this awesome conference where I'm going to get some advanced learning, get trophy recognition and promotions, as well as be able to hear some motivational speakers, all that kind of stuff, right? And this is great also because I can put this down on my resume too, right? When you mention that kind of type of stuff to your customers, that could, pull out an order, where they just say, oh, I'm going to get a super shears today, right? Just to help you out and you're good to go for free, right? So it's a great way of being able to make something out of nothing for some of those demos. Now, moving on into the top sales representatives over this last week, the number one sales representative in the Western region was Mr. Brandon Brown, which you guys will be hearing from in our next SLDM number 2 next week on Tuesday. Sold $15,000 this last week. And then going into the top teams, we have Nyan Preeter taking out the number 1 spot. So, as you guys know, Nyan Preeter is our rival. We are trying to take him out. We want to be the number 1 team, right? And so ultimately, I know that Nyan had a very, very big week this last week. And us champions, we had a little bit of a rough one. So ultimately, this needs to be our bounce back week, especially with it being Battle of LA coming up, starting up on Friday. So this needs to be our bounce back week. Nyan took a small little lead over us. And so now is our time to be able to execute and get back into the game. Now we also had Ben Lee being the leader of all veteran district managers, selling 28 grand. And then Kevin Donahue, Emiliano Rodriguez, the number 1 pilot in the Western region, selling $69,000. And then also we were the number 1 division in the frickin' Western region, the LA Showtime division. Let's give a round of applause for our LA Showtime division for handling that well. Moving on into the people that got recognition on the newsletter. People that sold over $1,000 in sales get recognized on the newsletter. Move on through here. And then we have the pace setters. All right. So these are the people that sell consistently over a certain amount every week. Deanna Scortino lost her 5K pace setter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she lost her 5K pace setter.
No.
So she no longer has her 5K pace setter, but she still sold over 4 grand. So she's kept that 4 grand pace setter. So it's pretty surprising. Now we also see Michael Lemaster up here with 1,005 straight weeks of selling $1,000 at Cutco, which is pretty fired up. And then moving on into the promotions that were recognized, these are a week delayed. We had Johan Martial getting his first promotion recognized in the newsletter from last week for his promotion that he earned in his first weekend. And then we move on into the Grand Days. And then the All-American Scholarship contenders, we have a few people on our team that are competing in for this. Randy Ingoglia at the number 21 student in the nation, attending Cal Poly in SLO. And she is currently going to be taking on 19 credits over the summer. And she told me she wants to become an All-American Scholarship winner, even while taking 19 credits over the summer. So that's really exciting stuff. Now moving on into the Top Gun, these are the Summer Excellence Awards that you guys are all able to win in Vegas. You guys are getting presented these trophies in Vegas in front of hundreds of individuals throughout the region. And then this is the trophy race currently. Currently, right now, we got the number 1 rep in the Western region currently with Randy Ingoglia at the number 1 spot. We got Lindsay McGahee taking over the number 5 spot. And I know that Clarissa is going to be on this list very soon, very soon. So I'm very excited for Clarissa Cabrera. And then we are currently right now number 1. This is not including this last week. So 9 this last week beat us pretty well. So we are a little bit behind him currently, but we're number 2 currently in the Western region. And then looking over here, we got the top offices. Kevin Donahue in our division. We are still the number 1 division in both new business and total business, which is really fired up. And then moving on into the fast start record holder, we have Randy Ingoglia holding down the top spot for our LA Showtime division. And these are the PR contenders. We have Lindsay McGahee getting recognized for having 2 friends that started the job that sold over $1,000 in Cutco. One of them sold $10,000 for Pasadena in her fast start. And the other one ended up selling, I think, 6 grand in like a couple of days. Pretty crazy. And then these are the top demo setting leaders for this last week, as well as top caller ballers going through that. So now I'm going to be going through, I'm going to be introducing our guest speaker for tonight's team meeting. Before that, I'm going to go through a couple of promotions that were recognized this last week. So we have Johan Martial getting his advanced sales representative promotion at 3K in sales. Give a round of applause for you, Mr. Johan. And then Clarissa Cabrera knocking out that 6K advisor promotion. Give a round of applause for Clarissa. All right. Now moving on the board this last week. We have Johan Marshall. Let's give one clap. One. Clarissa Cabrera, one clap. Chelsea DePerna, one clap. Michael Willman, one clap. All right. And then moving on in here, skip through. We have a rising star promotion within our organization. So I have the absolute pleasure to give Clarissa Cabrera her rising star promotion. Now, what the rising star promotion is within our Central Coast Champions organization is that she is somebody that is submitting herself as a leader within our office. And so ultimately, the last several weeks, Clarissa has been somebody that has communicated with me some of the absolute most, and she's done very, very well with following the communication guidelines for our organization. Her average order is very above average order. She's consistently, utilizing me for coaching as well, and she's asking some great questions, and she's always looking to improve, and she's really setting the champion standard that I look for when it comes down to my leaders that I want for my office. So ultimately, I just want to give a round of applause and a great just applause for Clarissa Cabrera for being an absolutely great leader for our Central Coast Champions. All right, so now going into the top 5 standings for the 2025 Central Coast Champions, we got Michael Willman at the top spot, selling $24,712. Randy Ngoglia, $12,942. Justin Castanon, $9,114. Lindsay McGaughy, $8,779. Noah Oski, $6,906. And then honorable mention in the hunt is Clarissa Cabrera at $6,495. Now, moving on in here, these are the summer team meeting themes that we will have next week. We're going to be doing Classic versus Pearl. I will let you guys know what your guys' team is going to be. We're going to have a little contest between our team. One team's going to be Classic, one team's going to be Pearl. And so we'll go up against each other as a team and try to beat each other out on our team and get some good competitiveness going the following week. Now, moving on into our guest speaker of tonight, my former district manager, Mr. Austin Oberbillig, the man, the myth, the legend. All right, so I'm super excited to have you guys be able to get a bunch of value from this man. So just a couple of things. He is known nationwide as one of the best district managers in our company, in the country. Now, most known for developing some of the best CSPs and DMs in our region, including yours truly. And then also, I've known Austin for 4 years. His Cutco career sales is currently at 9.2 million and counting. He's going to be finishing out at $10 million in sales by October or November of this year. I started in his office as a sales representative. I got the opportunity to advance to being an assistant manager for his office. I also got to be a branch manager for 2 summers over my junior and senior year and got to learn pretty much everything I know from him. He is a Silver Cup national champion winner in 2022. And Austin is one of my biggest inspirations on why I took on the district manager opportunity. He helped me in so many different areas of my life, and he's helped develop me into the leader I am today. He's like my big brother, my best friend in life. I'm looking forward to the value you guys are going to be able to take from him tonight. So make sure you guys get those pens and papers ready to go. All right, and I'm going to just pass the floor on to the man, Austin Oberbillig.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. What an introduction. Man, I probably should have written some talk notes down a week ago instead of yesterday. But I'm looking forward to coming at you guys tonight. I've got some big ideas. I've got some actionable ideas, and I've got some things for you to think about. Ryan texted me before the meeting, and he just kind of let me know where each of you guys are at, career sales wise, and where you're at experience level. Obviously, with Division Challenge Week coming up, I want to make sure that I give you guys some value that you can capitalize on in a short period of time. But for those of you who know me, I like to also make sure that every time I talk or deliver a message to a group of Cutco reps, that I'm delivering value that is going to compound outside of Cutco just as much as it is going to compound inside of Cutco, right? And that's something I've tried to develop all the leaders in my organization to do, and something I've tried to, what's up, Sean? Something I've tried to do in my own organization as well. So hopefully that makes sense. So tonight I want to talk about three simple things. Okay. And if you're looking for a title, if you're a note Nazi and you take really, really good notes, you can title this, let's see, the difference between showing up and showing out. There we go. That's a good title. Okay. Now, you guys have probably experienced this before, but just raise your real hand or your virtual hand. How many of you guys have ever actively realized that you're actually just going through the motions in your relationship, in your job, in your sports life, your physical life, whatever the case may be, right? And most of you guys raise your hand, right? If not all of you guys, right? And the reality is we've all had those moments where we realized we were kind of just going through the motions and we know we could do something about it, but we didn't, right? Now, I'll give you an example. I had a coaching call with one of my CSPs today. Her name's Anastasia Esquivel. She's at $1.6 million in sales. She's been with me for 6 years now. And we were making a plan for her to get to $2 million in sales by the end of this year or by mid-spring next year, right? And one of the things that we talked about is it's okay to get off track, but how often do we realize we're off track and then we don't do something about it? Right? So how often do we realize, hey, I'm off track on this. I need to get better in this area. But we say tomorrow or next week, or I'll do it when I'm less busy. Oh, that's a big trap. Less busy, right? I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 in 3 weeks. And I've been waiting for my life to get less busy since I graduated high school. It hasn't happened yet. Still waiting. I don't know when it'll happen, but fingers crossed, right? So the three things I'm going to talk about today serve that question, right? So the first one is it's important to give a shit, right? AGAS, as our region manager Dan says, you got to actually give a shit. The second thing is, and in a couple areas, and I'll talk about that. The second thing is it's important to actually be good at what you do and not just be in the room. It's important to actually be good at what you do, not just doing the thing, but actually being good at it. Improvement in life is not a function of being in the room. It's a function of being good at what you do. And then the third thing is growing your capacity, right? So we all want to grow our capacity so that hard things become easy and we can choose a new hard, right? So let's start with the first one, AGAS, right? You got to actually give a shit. So in my experience, people who care are the ones who win in the long run, right? People who don't, or people that coast, right? Or people that are just focused on being in the room, or it's okay, I'll just go to the team meeting. I can cheer for my teammates. That's okay for a week or two, right? If it's, you got an especially busy week. But at a certain point, that's not serving you. And it's not serving the people around you, right? And I think a lot of people in today's day and age, I don't know if this is COVID or whatever the case may be. I sound like an old man right now, but I think a lot of people feel that caring and giving a shit is like cheesy. Like, oh, I don't want to be known as the person who cares too much. Well, like just ask yourself, how much has Ryan showed me that he cares about my results and cares about me and cares about my goals? I don't even need to ask that question and have you guys share because I know that immediately something came to mind where it's like, oh, wow, I remember when I realized Ryan cared about me, cared about my results, and cared about, my goals. And if you haven't had that moment yet, it's because you're probably either not calling him enough or you haven't worked here long enough. That's the reality. And the best reps in this company, the best people in their industries, they care. They care a lot, right? They care about their job. They care about the way people perceive them. They care about their numbers. They care about their team. They care about having their name on the leaderboard. They make an active choice to care, right? So during challenge week, during this upcoming time here, caring is a strategic advantage because there's going to be people that get some results because their manager is saying, hey, we have this thing, make sure you show up, show out, work harder. But those people are not going to be able to beat the rep who cares about all the things I just talked about. You're going to outwork people who are trying to perform so that they don't embarrass themselves. That's why a lot of people go to work. They go to work and they do what they're told because they don't want to be embarrassed, right? You got to go one step above that. You got to actually care. And so something to think about is just decide. This is an exercise I like to do, right? With some of my coaching clients outside of Cutco and the people obviously I coach within Cutco. Just decide on one area of your life this week that you're going to care more about. So like for me, for example, my fitness and my health and my energy is a huge focus for me at this point in the year. Excuse me. And the reality is we get very busy in the summer, managers do, right? And so it's even more important to protect our energy. Now, you guys tell me, when you're not prioritizing what you eat and how much you move and how much you hydrate, would you guys agree that that affects the way you show up in the world? Right? For sure. So, yesterday, for example, I ran my first interview in 4 years, right? Because I had to jump back in the ring and show my staff how it's done, right? So I ran my first group interview since 2021. And I remember it was about an hour before the interview, and I'm like, I don't have time for this run. I was going to go on a 5-mile run. And then I realized about 10, I just left the house. So I said, I got to go. So I started running, right? You run faster when you don't have time. And I realized 10 minutes into the run, it's not that I didn't have time. I don't not have time to go on this run because I spent the entire 45-minute run thinking about here's how I want people to feel when they leave my interview. Here's how I want them to be excited about the job. Here's how I want them approaching training. And I didn't take a single phone call or send a single text. And I had 45 minutes to myself to think about how I was going to show up in that interview. So that's an example of how caring about something and making it a non-negotiable changes the way that you show up in the world and gives you better results. Right? So point 1, you got to actually give a shit. Okay. 2, you got to be good at what you do. You got to be good at what you do. Okay. It matters. So I think some people, they think about their potential. And for some people, knowing that they could accomplish something is as good as accomplishing it. I won't make you guys raise your hand, but you guys have had that moment before. I know I could do it. I don't need to do it because I know I could do it. I don't need to because I know that I'm capable. Well, guess what? Capability doesn't pay. Capability doesn't pay. Execution pays, right? I always used to, this is an idea that I learned from my first mentor, Ryan Casey, my division manager. And every time he caught me saying, I've heard this before, right? Or I've gotten this message before, or, I don't need to listen. I don't need to go to that. He would say, do you understand it? And I would say, yeah, of course, I understand it. And he would say, well, true execution is shown through understanding. And you're not doing this thing right now. So I'm going to call bullshit on the fact that you say that you know it. And then I had 2 choices. I either had to admit to him that I didn't know it, or I had to admit to him that I wasn't doing my job to the fullest capability that I could. Talk about a rock and a hard place, right? Capability matters. So you can be in this job or you can be about this job. And that can be everything you do during your time here at Cutco and everything after. And people say sometimes, well, I'm not going to sell knives forever. Yeah, but you're here right now. So either get the fuck out of the room or decide that while you're here, you're going to be the best version of you that you can be. Pardon my French. Sometimes it just slips out. Right? And you can either get on board or I will help out process you out of the room. No hard feelings. That's totally fine. That's completely fine with me. Right? So you can be in the job or you can be about the job. And by the way, that applies to every single job that you guys work. Guess what? My life doesn't revolve around Cutco, but when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm on, right? That's why we've won national championships. That's why I've developed more $1 million reps than any manager in company history, because when I'm on, right? I saw a post earlier today and I reposted on my Instagram, and it said something like, my ideal schedule is sleeping in, working out for a few hours a day, working 1 to 2 hours max, and making 6 figures. And I'm like, that's funny. That's me. Well, here's the reality. To get to that point, you have to have leverage, you have to have skill, and you got to deploy that skill through capability and execution. Coasting is a path of least resistance. It's something that a lot of reps do. It's something a lot of people do. They coast, right? It's also the fastest path to irrelevance, right? I saw a TikTok earlier this week that was like, how fast do you clock off your job when you're doing it? And it was like a video of somebody who was in the middle of a call with a customer, and then the clock went from 4:59 to 5, and they hung up. And they were like in the middle of their sentence. They're like, I'm gonna be here with you through the 5 o'clock, hang up, I'm out. Middle of the sentence. It's like, that's okay if you want to do that, but you're destined to make $62,000 a year after taxes, right? So that's the reality, okay? Brandon Brown has probably paid $60,000 in quarterly taxes a number of years in a row, right? He doesn't coast. He doesn't look for the path of least resistance. Winners fall in love with the process, and they fall in love with being good at what they do. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. That's something I learned very early on. You don't rise to the level of your goals or what you want to do or what you know you're capable of doing. You fall to the level of standards that you allow yourself to have. And if I asked Ryan right now, hey, does Justin sharpen his axe on a weekly basis? Does he get better at the job? Or is he just swinging a dull hammer? I don't know. I don't know, Justin. I don't know what he'd say, right? I don't know you. I've never met you. I'm seeing your face for the first time today. I want to say that you put intentional time into getting better at the job every single week, right? Because you know that that's what's going to pay. And I think that's what you do, right? You're the first name on my screen. So I just, I had to pick somebody, Justin. Don't worry. Okay. And then the third point here and the final point is you got to increase your capacity. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more and becoming a person that can handle more. When we won our first national championship, we won it by accident, right? We were halfway into the year and we're like, well, we're up 200,000 in both categories. So maybe we should try to hold on to our lead here. That's the reality. When new reps come to me and they say, I want to win a silver cup, or I want to be the #1 rep in the push contest. In my head, I'm thinking, that's the dumbest goal I've ever heard. Now, I don't tell them that unless they've sold more than 10,000. If they're at 10,001, then I tell them, hey, I love you. And because I love you, I'm going to tell you the hard truth. The real goal should be to become the type of person that can win the push contest or win the silver cup or win the national championship or win insert contest here, because that is your level of capability and that is your level of standards and that is your level of execution. That's the real capability. When Kyle Lopes was breaking every single record in the company, every single month, right? It wasn't because he was the best manager of all time. It was because he had spent a decade increasing his capacity and he surrounded himself with people that were bought in on the mission and got them to increase their capacity as well. Is this facts, Sean Tracy, or is this facts? It's facts. Okay. Anybody who succeeds at this job or anything else outside of this job, they have a high level of capacity. Did you want to say something, Sean?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that that's completely true. Like Kyle worked his ass off.
Yeah. It's not, look, it's guys, this is not, again, Being good at what you do is not a function of talent. Michael Jordan was the most talented basketball player ever. Screw you, dude. Screw you. He got cut from his high school basketball team. That's not talent, that's obsession, right? Conor McGregor, oh man, he went off the deep end, didn't he, these last few years? But in his prime, he was obsessed. He was obsessed, right? People that do really well, they're obsessed. Sometimes when managers text me and they talk shit and they're like, oh, I'm beating you in this category and that category, it's like, you're beating me in a game that I've already won and I'm not trying to play anymore. And when I did, I would mop the floor with you. You have to be obsessed. Now it's important to me to be home by 4 o'clock. I like to eat dinner with my girlfriend. I like to have 90 minutes to work out. I want to swim in my pool, right? Life is different now. I'm older, but you've got to be obsessed. There's a time and a place to be obsessed. You guys picking up what I'm putting down here? Right? This is simple and it's important. So this challenge week that's coming up for you guys, it's going to stretch you emotionally, mentally, physically, if you do it right, if you don't coast. That stretch is the point. That's the point, right? If you set a goal of 10K in the next 10 days and then you get the shit kicked out of you, you learned a lot more about yourself and you succeeded to a higher degree than the rep who took the first 4 days off, did 2 appointments, sold a Cutco kitchen on one of them, and then took the next 3 days off. That's a rep that's going to flame out in the next few months. Mark my words. Seen a lot of reps come and go. The rep that set a 10K goal and does 41 appointments and has a rough string of bad luck and has to break Ryan's wallet open for a lot of base pay, right? But learns their lesson and shows up better next time, that rep is going to be around for a long time and they're going to succeed in many things that they do. Stress equals pressure, and some pressure is good, right? Pressure is growth. Pressure is a privilege. Sometimes when I'm really stressed out, I'm like, I just remind myself, everything I'm stressed out about right now is because I chose this life. I chose the things that are stressing me out right now. You know what's really stressing me out right now? I'm trying to save $50,000 this year. That stresses me out. What a great problem to have, right? You know what else I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get a couple rental properties this year. That stresses me the hell out. I have a coaching company on the side. I'm running the #2 district in the Western region. I'm an advisor to 2 masterminds, a real estate mastermind and a passive income mastermind. I try to read every day. I try to work out 4 days a week. I run 3 days a week. I try to play pickleball 3 days a week. I got a lot going on. I have to remind myself that everything that stresses me out is this is the life I chose. And some people don't get that privilege. Some people are stressed out about things that they didn't choose and they didn't want. So whenever you're stressed out about something that you assigned for yourself, just remember what a blessing it is to be stressed about something that you chose. Now, a couple practical tips here from managing your capacity as it gets bigger, right? Number 1, protect your mornings. If you're getting up in the morning and you're just going straight into your day, boy, oh boy, are you setting yourself up for failure from the beginning of the day. You got to have some time to yourself. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning like Ashton Hall, right? Here's my rule. You got to get up 90 minutes before people generally start bothering you or you generally start your workday. So if people typically start texting you and bothering you and they wake up to your existence at 9:30 in the morning, get up at 8. Get up at 8, right? Well, for me, people typically start, capitalizing on my existence around 8 a.m., 7 to 8 a.m. So that means for me, I got to get up 6 to 6:30 if I want 90 minutes of uninterrupted me time. Okay. Second thing is plan your resets, right? I'm a big fan of walking. For the last 4 months now, I've averaged about 20,000 steps a day. Okay. I'm a big fan of walking. That's 10 miles, by the way. And most of that happens in the morning and it happens in the evening. Okay. So are you taking time to just walk, process your thoughts, and process the day? Right? Throw on some Chapel Roan, Pink Pony Club. That's a good one. I like that one. Some of you guys are like, what's that? Go look it up. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. Some Oliver Anthony, his new single just came out. That's a good one too. Right? And then third thing is use the momentum anytime you get a little bit of it. Anytime you get a little momentum, capitalize on it. Right? Let other people's wins push you forward. Right? Fill your sails. Okay. Reframe I'm tired to I'm in the arena. Right? Reframe this is hard to this is how I get stronger. That's how you increase capacity, right? So over the next couple weeks here, I know that there wasn't like do this, do this, do this in my message, but really what I wanted you guys to take from this is you're not just here to make sales, right? That's just the result, okay? You're here to become somebody who can perform when it counts, because that's what matters in life, right? Be the rep that gives a shit, be the rep that tries to be good at what they do, and be the rep that increases your capacity so that when you don't work here, we can brag about all the cool things you're doing in your life and not, oh, yeah, he was a great rep. Yeah, I think he works at the post office now. We don't want that, right? Nothing wrong with the post office, but you guys get the idea. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't know how much time we have for Q&A. I prefer questions and answers just because gives people a chance to ask what they really care about. But that's in Ryan's department. That's Ryan's department. I'll stay for as long as you guys need within reason.
All right, great. Awesome. That was a great message. So let's open up the floor, guys. I had sent out in the WhatsApp earlier to prepare some questions to ask Austin. So you guys can unmute and you guys can ask the questions that you guys have ready for Austin here right now.
I've actually got one.
Oh, Sean's got one. All right, Sean,
Yeah.
start off.
So you mentioned 90 minutes every single morning to yourself. Typically, what does that morning look like for you? And, how would you recommend going about, I don't know, just like figuring out what that would look like for, each person individually? Because I feel like each morning would look different for every person.
Yeah. So I'll tell you so it's a great question. I'll tell you the mistake I think most people make is they see a successful person. They're like, well, that's what they do. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And so that's what I did at first. When I first tried to have a morning routine, I'm like, I started Googling dumb shit on YouTube, right? Like, billionaires morning routine, right? Which there might be some value there for some people, but it wasn't an exact match for me, right? I don't like to work in the morning, the early morning. So for me, what a good morning looks like is getting up early, I eat the same breakfast every day. So getting some decent food in me, or if you fast, that's fine too, but just, doing something for your energy. So stretching, right? I take my vitamins and then I typically go on a 5-mile walk, which I do in about an hour. Okay. So I walk hour and change, maybe hour and 15 minutes. Okay. So, but walk 4 to 5 miles. And that just wakes me up. It gets my blood pumping. And then on that walk, I can do two things. I can just vibe out, listen to a podcast and just kind of collect my thoughts for the day. Or in the summertime, now that we're in summer, more so often, that walk has been answering texts from the day before, or just kind of, picking up on everything that, happened that evening or earlier that morning. And then when I get back, just setting my intentions. What are my top 3 intentions for today? I think this is especially important for very busy people. I mean, you've been in very high performing offices. You are currently in a high performing office. You're a high performer yourself. I think high performers can get really bogged down with they talk about your power 3 or your power 5, and they're like, what is my power 12 today? You can't play that game. You really do need to parse it down to your highest leverage 3 to 4 things you could do that day. And understand that there will be 6 or 8 things that you need to do that day that you just make a deliberate choice not to do unless you have the time for it. And I think there's power in learning to say no to things that you should probably do, because you're saying yes to the 3 most important things that you should definitely do. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
For the
like
most
my
part.
morning routine is not what's going to work for you guys, right? Like I know some people go nuts, right? They're like, they get up, they're like, I take a cold shower, read my Bible for 10 minutes, and then I do 100 push-ups, and then I like, that's fine. If that works for them, that works for them. But for me, I like slow mornings. I want to walk, I want to move, and I want to have the choice on whether or not I'm catching up and giving that time and energy away, or if I am, just using that time for me and setting my intentions. But you got to set your power 3 or your power 5 for the day, and not more than that.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Who's next?
So yeah, I'm muted.
I could go. Okay. What skill or experience do you feel like is essential for someone in a role like mine to succeed
What
as
role?
an advisor? Advisor.
So you're at 6,000 in sales.
Yes.
Cool. More demos, right? So let me ask you a couple questions. You can write these down. Do you have a date on when you want to have your first $6,000 week?
No.
Okay. That might be good to think about, right? I'm at 6,000 sales. What's the date where I want to be operating at a level where I can have a 6K week?
Okay.
Maybe challenge week is too soon. Maybe it's SC1 push period, which is coming up sooner, right? And I know that sounds like monumentally large to you,
Hmm.
or it might not, but it probably does. But again, it's all about capacity, right? I remember my first summer, our biggest sales week was like 21,000, I think, or maybe 22,000. And I was like really fired up about that. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I'll ever be able to, I cannot imagine like a $50,000 week, and then it took me a couple years, but then we had a $40,000 week, right? And then, my biggest week as an office, I think we did 121,000. We had a 50K Sunday. We sold 50,000 on a Sunday. And so, I think you've got to, it's less about what skills you need and more about activity, right? That's the first thing I'd say. There's not a lot of skills you don't possess right now that you would need to possess to fulfill your potential at the highest level. So right now, you don't need more skills. You need more activity. You need more of what got you to where you are. When you get to about 20,000 in sales, which I know a thing or two about getting a rep from 20K to 50K. We've done it a few times. That's where it really starts to come into play, where it's like you need to actually know other things and you need to know different things than you know right now to get to the left. What got you to 20 won't get you to 100. But right now you don't have a skill issue. You just have you need more of everything you've already done. So that's probably a really unsatisfying answer. But when you get to 20,000, get my phone number from Ryan and I'll do a 30-minute PC with you and we can map out 20 to 50K. And then we'll talk about what skills are important.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being willing to accept an unsatisfying answer.
Awesome. All right, who's next?
I got a
Mike,
question.
what's up, dude?
So, how's it going, man? Appreciate tonight. So I got do you ever get stuck in like a funk, like kind of like in a rut? And if so, how would you suggest getting out of that? Because that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yes. Yes, I do. Happened last week, actually. Look, man, getting into a rut, what does that mean? Everybody think about this, right? Everybody think about that. What is my relationship to the sentence, I'm in a rut?
Hmm.
Well, for a lot of people, that means I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I'm working, but it's not working. And generally, the solution for getting out of a rut, not all the time, but generally, it's massive action, which again is going to be an unsatisfying answer.
No, that's not satisfying.
Um, now here's what I mean by massive action. I had a representative who was really struggling, and she was in a 2 or 3 month rut of like a few orders. Okay, so I want you guys to all think about that. I want you to think about having only a few orders over a few months, right? And I set a contest with her, but it was not a contest for the week, it was a contest for an entire month because I wanted her to build up her resources so that she could deploy all of those resources in 1 week instead of deploying 20% of her resources over 5 weeks. You guys tracking on the philosophy here? So it's actually better when you're in a rut to pull back a little bit, get the right habits in place, build your resources, and then introduce massive action. That rep at that point in time was at 30, about 45,000 in sales. She sold $6,000 that February. She hit her contest, and she has sold $1,000 or more for the last 4.5 years. Well, what was 4.5 years ago? About 4.5.
COVID.
It was February 2020 when we had that contest. So she was in a rut until we had that contest. And she's now at $1.6 million in sales. And when she hit that contest, she was at 40,000. And over those four and a quarter years, she sold $1,000 every single week. So sometimes it's better to pull back, collect yourself, collect resources, get the right habits in place, and then introduce massive action.
Cool. Thank you.
So basically, don't start working again until you can sit down and you can make 30 calls to 30 different people or 50 calls or whatever the case may be. So sit down with Brian and he can make a plan, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio. It's going to take 3 weeks of prep to prepare for 1 week of massive action. If you're in a rut. If you're not in a rut, it takes days. Days. So great question. You got this, Mike.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Now, Justin, Scott, Johan, Ashley, any of you guys have a question to ask Austin?
You mentioned that you have Cutco plus 3 other careers going on. How do
Yeah.
you make sure that you're giving your 100% to all that you have going on? Like, do you just live by your calendar, or is there days that you
So
kind of
when
split it
you
up?
say, are you saying how do I give 100% to Cutco?
To Cutco and everything, like
I don't.
without. Okay, fair.
That's the answer. You can't. You can't. It's not humanly possible. The 100 is the max. So like you can't give. Again, man, I'm dropping some unsatisfying answers here. I feel bad. I apologize, but so I'd say I'd probably give Cutco 75. And then the other things I got going on, I give it 25. But here's the thing, because of my capacity and my skill set, my 75 is somebody else's 200. That's the point of
So build
increasing.
the capacity.
That's the point of increasing your capacity, right?
Gotcha.
The point is to be able to actually be more effective. Like that's why I don't play the trophy game anymore, right? I used to a lot. I used to play the trophy game where it's like, I'm trying to win the trophies and beat the people around me. I already won the game. Like you want to get to the point where you feel like you've already won the game, right? And that takes a long time. And by the way, if you're thinking to yourself, well, this guy's cocky as heck. Well, let me tell you something. I remember choosing my couch in my first office really carefully because I knew I'd be sleeping on it a lot. And I drove 140 miles a day for 2.5 years, commuting to my office Monday through Saturday. I told myself I was going to focus on Cutco 100% when I opened my district office at 21 years old until I hit Hall of Fame or I turned 30. Well, I'm going to be 30 in about 3.5 weeks, and I'm going to hit Hall of Fame in about 4 to 5 months. So I made a 10-year promise to myself at 21 years old. And so, yeah, I'm letting my focus be spread out a little bit more now than I did when I was 21. But I had to earn that. So this is not coming from a place of cockiness. It's coming from a place of I did the work. I did the work. And you got to do the work too. But it's not humanly possible to give multiple things 100%. So you've got to pick and choose how you do that and be strategic. How do you do that? You've got to have really good calendar management, and you have to understand that there are seasons to everything. It's the summertime now, so Cutco is getting more of my attention than my other positions, right? In the fall and spring, I spend more time on those things. Sometimes I come home and I tell my girlfriend, hey, I'm not going to be able to give you 100 tonight, even though I'm off. I'm off for the day. I can't give you 100 tonight because I need to work out, right? Today's one of those days. It's 9:15 p.m. right now. Haven't worked out yet for the day. My girlfriend's out there watching TV, waiting to watch a show with me, and I'm going to tell her that I got to go to the gym first, and I hope she comes with me, right? So we can do that together. But you can't give anybody 100% or any job 100% all the time. You've got to pick and choose. So be okay making that choice. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, great. And then, by the way, like, man, this guy's a bad boyfriend. Well, sometimes I'm 100% with her, right? And it's like my reps on a demo, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm so close to selling a homemaker." Well, text the group chat. I'm not available right now. Call Ryan. Call Ryan. So you got to choose. Long story short, you got to choose, and you got to make a choice and be committed in that.
Yeah, he had to make it clear that he's not a bad boyfriend. So
I had to. And yes, because it's funny, but also like that's important. It's not all about your job. It's not all about making money. Right? You gotta build a life outside of your job too. So yeah.
All right. We got time for maybe one or two more questions. Whoever wants to ask away, ask away.
People are
I
scared.
see Scott moving his
I don't want to
arm.
get it. I don't
Yeah,
want
I
to
got
get
a
it.
question, Austin.
All right.
I was just kind of wondering, you said you were stumbling into that silver cup and it was almost by accident. I don't think things really happen at that kind of demeanor by accident. So I was just kind of wondering, what was your real process that kind of put you in the method to get that silver cup and actually push through the barriers?
It's a great question. So we didn't stumble into it. It just took me 5 years to become the manager that
Sure.
I needed to be to win a silver cup without trying.
Okay.
That's the reality. It didn't.
So it took so much repetition, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it took me. Yeah, because again, some people they hear me talking, they're like, "Wow, this guy's really a little arrogant, right?" Well, I sucked for a really long time before I was good. You've got to be bad before you're good.
That's how growth works.
And you got to be ruthless in getting better. I remember we have this thing called Leadership Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you guys will hear about it this fall. It's our management training program. I remember having the best stats in the division, interview stats. Like I had the most efficient stats in the whole division. I was crushing everybody. I was like doubling people. And we were role playing and practicing, just like you guys do in training at Leadership Academy. And my manager at the time, my division manager, my first mentor, when I got done, he like ripped into me and he was like, "You need to do this better. Your tone was off here. You added 2 ums." He was like counting the amount of times I said And I was so angry. And I emailed him after the event and I'm like, "Dude, I have the best stats in the division." And he emailed me back. He said, "I don't care. It's about the process, not the result." And that is stuck in my mind for so long. And I'm so grateful that he did that because it didn't matter that I had the best numbers because he knew that I could be better than I was being.
Sure.
That's why he was counting my ums.
Hmm. He's always pushing you. That's what good managers do.
Right. And that's what Ryan does for you guys and is going to do for you guys. And so don't take that investment lightly, because I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Ryan won't tell you this, but I'll tell you this, right? You guys take his energy and you don't always give it back. When he pours into you guys at a team meeting and then you go out and sell shit for the week, that takes an insane amount of energy from him, because he cared about you. He cared about your goals. He did a PC with you. He made your schedule with you. He held your hand through the process. And then you turn in one order for 78 CPO. That takes an insane amount of energy from somebody, and it doesn't give a lot back. But he's willing to do that because he cares. And that's any good manager, right? Everybody in here can think of somebody who poured energy into them and you didn't give it back as much as you should have. Everybody can think of that, right? And you can also probably think of a time when you poured energy into somebody and they didn't give it back as much as they should have. And that's okay if you do it on a short-term basis, right? Can we all agree? Like, it's okay to not be at 100%, but if you do that over and over and over again, then it just becomes a negative energy transfer.
Yep.
Right? So just like take it seriously. The amount of time that Ryan and the assistant managers put into helping you. Take it really seriously. Like, the biggest reason I hired a performance coach, I'm pretty healthy. I'm pretty healthy. I know what I'm doing. I'm pretty good at planning my workouts. I know what to eat. And yet, when my buddy started his performance coaching business, I asked him how much 6 months was. And I said, can I pay in full? And I said, I'll pay you on Friday. I'll wire you on Friday. Because it's so important for me to have the extra framework of accountability of, I know that he's spending time planning my workouts right now. So I don't want to let him down by not doing them.
Totally.
So just, keep that in the back of your mind this summer.
All righty. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that perspective.
Yeah, you got it. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully I
There
didn't
you
cut
go.
this time.
Awesome stuff. All right. Now, I think that's pretty much it for questions. Unless Johan or Ashley, you guys have a question to ask Austin, I'll give you guys a moment to unmute. But I think that's a good amount of questions for tonight. So awesome. Give you guys a moment.
Hey, I got something to say.
Okay. Go ahead,
What
Johan.
you did at the start of your career? My bad. I'm like in a car right now. Is it clear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So what is something that you believed in at the start of your career that you no longer believe in?
What did I believe at the start of my career that I no longer believe in? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, I did. As in, like uh something that you believed in would make you make sales, and like now later in like your career, you're like, oh, that was like that didn't really work out.
Yeah, good question. This will be a simple one, right? This is good. Great question, simple answer. I overestimated my ability to predict my own performance, and I underestimated what I could achieve if I just put my head down and worked for longer than a week in a row. I overestimated my ability to predict my own performance, and I underestimated what I could get done if I showed up for an extended period of time. That's the answer. And we do this a lot in life, right? We're like, I'm gonna start eating healthy. And then you give yourself a pat on the back after like 2 days. Like, man, I'm crushing it. It's like, this is why people stop going to the gym too. They're like, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna get sexy, I want to look good naked. And then they go to the gym and they don't see results after a week and a half. And they're like, fuck, man, I'm gonna stop going. It's like, well, it takes 6 weeks to see meaningful changes. 6 weeks, that's a month and a half. You got to go to the gym for a month and a half before you're going to see meaningful change in your body. You'll be lifting more, but you're not really going to see it. So it's like when a rep comes to me on a Monday and they're like, man, I've been here 2 days, I've been grinding it out. I don't think it's going to work out, Austin. I want to shake them like a baby. I want to shake them like a baby. I'm like, you've worked here for 71 hours. And then same principle applies if someone's, if they're 6 months into working here and they're like, oh man, I've been on point these last 2 days making a ton of phone calls. And I look at their call log on the Vector Impact app, it's like, Jonathan, you've made 11 calls since Monday. So yeah, that's the answer to your question. I was I overcompensated for how to predict my own performance, and I just didn't put a premium on being consistent enough. That's what I would tell you.
There we go. Awesome. That was shaking him. I want to shake him like a baby. This got me dead.
Don't shake babies, by the way.
It's
That's bad. That's not good for them. That's not good for them. That's
no
kind of the
bueno.
idea. That's kind of the idea.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Well, let's give a round of applause for Austin. Thank you so much, Austin, for taking the time out of your busy day to be able to come bring the value for our champions. I really appreciate it, Austin. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you got it. I'll see you guys later. It was a pleasure. Go kick ass. I better see Central Coast at the top of the division meeting on the newsletter. See you guys later.
Absolutely. 100%. Awesome. All right. Perfect. So diving back in here, I'm just going to close out really quick. I know we're a little over time. I appreciate you guys staying extra. But our Battle of LA goal for this next week, goal for this pop week. We want to sell 25K sales as a team for the 10-day challenge. Goal for the 10 days is to have 100 plus demos scheduled for those 10 days. And that will get us to that number. Now, the average of 10 plus appointments per day for our team. Anything less than 10 appointments per day as a team during this challenge week is unacceptable. Let's be the champions that we are and take over our division. Our top competitors are going to be the Bakersfield Legion, Thousand Oaks office, Pasadena VIPs. Those are going to be our top people that we're going to be going up against. These are going to be the teams that we need to outperform to get that championship belt that we know we can get. So moving on into the vision for our Central Coast champions. Our summer vision, we want to be the top 2 first full year district office in the Western region, keeping the #1 crown against Nick Burns' Santa Monica team. Absolutely demolishing Abigail Legaspi's Mission Viejo team. We are doing that right now. The goal is for the summer is $250,000 in sales for the summer. Staffed by the summer, 5 assistant managers, 1 sales manager. Total new representatives, 100 to 125 to 150 new representatives. How can you help the team? Consistent sales, hitting your goals, having good attendance with team meetings, events, and conferences, recommending friends of the team, helping out on campus, finding new members for our team. Don't settle for nothing less than your best. And lastly, we have the way to start out or to end out the team meeting. And we're sending out a little description you guys can post up on your guys' Instagram stories for me. It's a very, very big help for our team. And so I will send you guys over that information with a little link you can put on your story. Make sure to also tag me so then I can be able to repost that if they have any questions or anything like that. They can ask me. I sent that out on the WhatsApp. And then the very last thing too, guys, while you guys are going through and doing that, I'm going to be sending out PC Calendly link at the end of tonight after team meeting when I get home. So please do, when you guys get the opportunity, please do click on that Calendly link and schedule out a Zoom PC with me over the next couple days so we can set those out and get those scheduled up. Those are going to be big for the kind of the first half of the Battle of LA. So I want to try to get them done Wednesday, Thursday before we go into that push or that challenge week from Friday to the following Sunday. So let's try to get those scheduled up as soon as we can. So I'll give you guys a minute or 2 here, post up that social media post, then we'll close out today. All right, and then the last final thing too, guys, if you guys can, when you guys hop off this team meeting, if I can have you all make sure to go into the WhatsApp. I want you guys to post your top 2 to 3 takeaways from tonight's team meeting. Okay, so top 2 to 3 takeaways from tonight's team meeting. I want you guys to all go in there and just post what your top 2 to 3 takeaways were from Austin's talk, through the phoning video, whatever we went through throughout team meeting today. Put those in there just for the people that weren't here today so they can be able to take some good value. But yeah, awesome. All right. Well, that is it for this week's Central Coast Champions team meeting. I appreciate you all making the time and investment for today's meeting. Next week, our team meeting will be 7 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday next week, since we have SLDM on Tuesday. So let's make sure that we try to get as many people as possible in person for that Wednesday team meeting. Then SLDM, anybody that's over $3,000 in sales, you are invited to that event. I will text several of you to try to coordinate when it comes to carpooling and stuff like that. But I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weeks, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys at your guys' PCs. All right, see y'all.